Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to also say something about the county allocation of revenue bill that is before us, and to say that, Madam Speaker, I support the bill, but I have a number of issues I want to raise. First of all, on the issue of the ceilings. Madam Speaker, I have noticed that the ceilings for the county executives have been reduced, and those of the county assemblies have been increased. For my county, Madam Speaker, the ceiling for the county executive has been reduced by 100 million, from 588 million to 487 million. And the ceilings for the county assemblies have been increased from 637 to 714. Madam Speaker, the law requires the Constitution under Article 218(2). It requires that whenever we have a significant deviation, the explanation must be given in the bill. But the bill is silent on this significant deviation on the issue of ceilings. The reduction in the ceilings for the overall, for the county executive, I think is a very important issue that the committee needs to look at, because, Madam Speaker, you know the inflation rate has gone up. And if you look at the finance bill that my neighbor and friend Cheralgei is supporting, the finance bill is proposing increases, and that is further going to affect the operations of the counties. And now this bill is proposing to reduce the ceilings for the county executive, which will really affect the operations of the county executive. So I think that required that under Article 218(2)(c), an explanation should have been given on this significant deviation. Madam Speaker, the schedule also does not indicate how much has been spent. The actual expenditure, it only indicates what is being proposed to be given, but is not indicating how much of this has been spent so far. I think it's important so that we know which particular county executives or county assemblies are violating the ceilings. That information is not provided here, and I think the committee should demand for that information so that Senate can begin to act on those county assemblies and county executives that violate the ceilings. And maybe the increase in the ceilings is suggesting that maybe the ceilings that we have given are not realistic. The issue of the legal services, Madam Speaker, I want to agree with the committee that counties should have their own legal departments, so that these cases, some of them are handled internally. Whereas we agree that Kenyans have become very litigious, but it will be cheaper and more efficient if we had a legal unit within the counties so that some of these cases can be handled internally. We know counties are spending a lot of money on legal costs, and it has become a cash cow for people in the county attorney offices to make money using legal provision of legal services, getting their friends hired to represent counties, and they all went to school. They all went to the same law school, and they should be able to handle these cases without having to engage external lawyers to do it at a higher cost. The issue of staffing, Madam Speaker, has also been pointed out here. Some counties requested for more staff, but you see we have a capping at 100 employees. And I want to agree with the committee that CRA and county assemblies forum, they should engage so that to ensure that there is a review of the staffing levels within 6 months of tabling of this report. I think that will be very important because some county assemblies have overemployed people, and that affects the utilization of the funds that we give them. The issue of the committees, the numerous committees that we have in the county assembly, I think we need to cap them. The guidelines require that the maximum number of committees should be 14. And I want to agree with the committee that if you want to allow them more, then it should only be capped at 18 or lower, Madam Speaker. Because the higher number of committees means higher expenditure, and also the composition of these committees. You find one member of the county assembly sitting in 5 committees. Madam Speaker, it's not possible. It's not possible to work efficiently in 5 committees and be very productive. It is not possible. I think that has to be looked at, and I'm sure the committee will keep monitoring this. You put in place monitoring measures so that we don't lose money because of a bloated committee structure in our county assemblies. Madam Speaker, it is also the issue of insurance. Insurance, yes, there is a request for increased allocation, but again, this is another area that must be watched very carefully, Madam Speaker. We can look at it in 2 perspectives. One, that this is an avenue for corruption, and 2, there may be need for increase of insurance ceilings on need basis, because you know insurance is there to cater for risks. Madam Speaker, let me also talk about the equitable share. I have had colleagues on the other side trying to explain that we never lost. We got 5.3 billion extra. But you see, when you factor in the element of inflation, then you realize that counties lost. And CRA, they were not foolish to advise that we have 407 billion. But how a Senate can decide to go for a lower figure of 385.4 billion and not 4 or 7 billion, I think we let down our counties. And as Honorable Sifuna said, I think when we are given an opportunity to increase our resource envelope, we must take that opportunity and increase the resources that we allocate to the counties. It is very sad. It was a sad day in this Senate that we refused more money, 407 billion, and we went for 385.4 billion. My county lost. In this revenue allocation bill, I know the allocation to my county has increased by 200 million. But that is still very little, extremely very little. It is going to increase to 5 billion 267 million. That is too little increase. But if we had gotten 407 billion, Madam Speaker, we would have increased by 5.5 billion around there. So, Madam Speaker, as a Senate, in future, we need to ensure that when we are given an opportunity to give more money to our counties, please, let's give more money to our counties so that they can run the operation smoothly. Members have talked about a number of issues. Madam Speaker, for the purposes of time, let me generally say that Article 96 of the Constitution gives us a lot of powers as a Senate, that a Senate represents the counties, and serves to protect the interest of counties and their government. Madam Speaker, to be honest, as a first-term senator here, having served in the National Assembly before, I think we need to reset this Senate. We seriously need to reset this Senate because there are so many things that are yet to be resolved, and yet we are here as a Senate. In fact, when Senator Cheralgei brought that statement on MCS, and he was reading it out, I was asking myself so many questions. That why must Senate appear like we are unable to do some things? We are there to protect counties, and counties includes county assemblies. What are we doing about it? How can SRC just decide to slash their salaries and we don't do anything? We wait until they strike and we pretend we want to do something. I think the relevant committees must quickly sit down and make a resolution, even if it means coming up with a motion on this floor, Madam Speaker, for Senate to be heard very clearly. Because we have the powers under Article 96 of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the issue of delayed disbursement of funds. The law is very clear. Article 219 requires that the national government, the account share of revenue raised by the national government should be transferred to the counties without undue delay and without deductions. That is very clear. Why are we allowing the national government to go against the law? And we are quiet. We are doing nothing about it. Madam Speaker, every now and then, every year, we pass disbursement schedule. After this bill has been passed, we will pass a disbursement schedule. Why do we do that? If the ultimate powers are with the Treasury to vary when the money will be given and how much will be given. I think the Senate has to reset itself, assert itself, and do its work. And we should not join the chorus that is crying outside there when we have the law on our side, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my Committee of Public Investment and Special Funds, currently we are dealing with the issue of pension funds in the counties, where counties owe employees 60 billion shillings. And this is because some counties have not been remitting money, and control of budget does very little in this case. Madam Speaker, will soon be bringing a report here, and we want Senate to rise to the occasion on that day to say that it is important for these people to be paid their money, all the money to be paid, even if it requires us to insist that that money has to be drawn from the equitable shareable revenue to the counties. Madam Speaker, when we talk about agriculture, when we talk about health, my friend here is saying that services should be taken back, functions should be taken back to the national government. I think this is not the right house for the likes of Senator Cheralgei, who is supposed to protect counties and is coming here and telling us that services should be taken back to the national government. This is a clear testimony that we have a problem here. Madam Speaker, we cannot be complaining about health not working in our counties, and yes, bulk of the money is at the national level, Madam Speaker. Why can't we get all that money to our counties? And when they fail, we can raise our voice. We have left the money in agriculture at the national level. We have left money for health in the national level. And then we keep joining the choruses of those who are saying health should go to the national level when we have something to do about it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when you talk about finance bill I know is a money bill. The Constitution does not allow us to debate it. But I think we need to relook at the Constitution, because if Senate is going to pass this bill the division of revenue and the allocation of revenue, why should we not participate in the finance bill, Madam Speaker? Because even in these provisions here are going to be affected by the provisions in the finance bill. I have seen one county here that has raised concern about the housing levy and said the money given to them will not be enough because they will be required to pay housing levy, the 3% employer element. So, Madam Speaker, the finance bill, as much as we are saying we are not involved in it, but I think as part of our reset of Senate, it is important for us to participate fully in the budget making process so that we can be very effective as a Senate, so that we can perform our role under Article 96 in the best way possible, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Senator Cheralgei, who is my neighbor, said that they will not amend even a comma in that bill. I want to tell him that Parliament has procedures. Why would you take this bill to public participation to ask Kenyans to give you views when you are not going to amend even a comma? Are you trying to tell us that we are running away from our legislative duties and listening to the executive on everything? So, Madam Speaker, that finance bill, in the form that it is in, it is going to kill Kenyans. It is going to kill this country. And I want to ask my former colleagues in the National Assembly not to pass that bill as it is, because that bill is very destructive, that bill is corruption, and that bill will not help this country. Madam Speaker, with those very many remarks, because of time, I want to say I support this bill with the amendments that will come at the committee of the whole House, so that our counties can get the money that they are supposed to get as per the allocation proposed. Madam Speaker, I support.
Senator Omtata.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity you have given me to support this bill. I rise to support this bill, and I associate myself with the comments that have been made by Senator Osotsi, except to clarify that the Constitution does not prohibit the finance bill coming in this House. The Constitution